So this is a piece called tsuba of the samurai sword. It has been traditionally made to be attached to the sword itself. And as you can see, it is very decorative. When you think about it, a sword is a weapon, and it would feel a bit strange to see important part of the sword, tsuba, to be so decorative, and it's actually very lovely. It could be because in the Edo era, when I think this was presumably made, the sword were not of practical use because there were no battles anymore. I mean, it was required equipment for a samurai, because when a samurai went to the castle, he had to wear a sword. I mean, that was part of the bargain. I mean, it was like the necktie that the contemporary business person would wear. So it was unthinkable for a samurai not to have a sword on his waist because that was part of the costume, right? So for that, but presumably that swords were never used. I mean, they probably practiced the art of sword swinging, and but they almost never used it. So these tsuba portion of the samurai sword might have served a purely decorative purpose, and it's really wonderful to observe these, craftsmanship. This is not that expensive if you know where to look. I don't want to popularize these things too much because many people would want to get hold of these things, but I'm not aggressive person myself. You know, once I covered a magazine article and I held a real samurai sword from the Edo era, and it was really fascinating. But at the same time, it's really dangerous for obvious reasons, right? So I don't like so much to come near a sword. It's a beautiful thing, Japanese sword, but I don't want to really have to deal with it on a daily basis. But I do love the tsuba portion of the sword. You know, a very famous sword tsuba maker. This is tsuba, as I repeat. A very famous tsuba maker, Kanei, was loved by the late Hideo Kobayashi. Hideo Kobayashi is arguably the greatest critic ever lived in modern Japan. And so Hideo Kobayashi used to have one of these Kanei tsubas. This is not Kanei. This is much more common one. And so the Kanei tsuba were are really excellent. These are way beyond the quality of most of the genre. I mean, Kanei is a Mozart of tsuba making. And I still remember seeing tens of Kanei tsuba. The shop owner was a famous collector of Kanei tsubas, and it was when I had the privilege to have a direct contact with the really fine tsuba. And but I can't. I'm not fortunate enough to have one of these. But this is good enough. I mean, this is authentic. This is from the Edo era, presumably. I'm not an expert in this, but I really enjoy really enjoy these landscapes and figures. And if you're an expert, probably you can read these things. I mean, you can probably interpret what they mean. And but I think it's rather nice that Japanese samurai sword had these ornaments, and these are lovely. These are artworks by their own right. So I just explained a tiny part of Japanese history today, and how the samurai actually wore these things when they had business meetings in the castle. They were wearing these tsuba on their swords. Isn't that wonderful?